Ladies and gentlemen, here, welcome to Coverage Awareness Studios. This is your host, Justin Ames Gamache. And if all else don't conflict with your ideology, look somewhere else. As we know, life as we know it is ending. And here is how you should be prepared. Go out into the wild and forage for food. Go to the stores to buy up canned goods. So I recently came across a couple of videos, but the article was on CBS News 60 Minutes, where a vulnerable U.S. electric grid faces threats from Russia and domestic terrorists. What is going on, people? Why? So anyways, we all know Ukraine and they're dealing with Russia and things are, of course, I'm not there. I don't see it. I just hear what the media is saying, and that is all, because the media likes to distract us from what is happening in the actual world to make us so we don't live our lives. But anyways, this article was interesting. Americans are soon, supposedly, according to the article, the first one was dated April 16th, 2013. A mysterious incident south of San Jose marked the most serious attack on our power grid in history. And that was the first. Now, we all know that Ukrainians are facing the prospect of massive power outages as Russian forces fight for control of areas that house vital parts of Ukraine's electric grid. If Moscow shuts down the grid, millions will be left without light, heat, refrigeration, water, phones, and internet. Well, I'll tell you this. People can survive without their phones. It's true. The thing, people can survive without the internet. That is also true. So those two are okay. Water is a basic need. However, it says here, if Moscow shuts down the grids, millions will be left without light, heat, refrigeration, and water. First off, I can see where electric would come into play here. But if you do it right, everybody can still have water. As for refrigeration, that's going to be a tough one unless you're totally off grid. As for heat, most people use electric for heat, right? Electric produces heat. Everybody stays warm when it's cold. And light. Well, we're not going to be without light. So, because people will just create some way to have fire. It's just going to be at nighttime. When you go outside, it's going to be complete dark. You'll be able to look up to the sky and see the stars. You won't have light pollution. Or you might be able to see that rocket coming across the sky here. Right? As for refrigeration, we have survived in the past without it. Refrigerators are probably one of the things that kind of help us keep our foods fresh and cold. However, there are ways to where we can actually just forage for what we eat. No more wasting food. No more sticking leftovers in the fridge. You're going to have to get outside. This is how you could prepare. Make a vegetable garden in your yard. If you have a little bit of piece of land, you have ground to dig up, put a fence around, and make food. And you can grow your food for the entire winter. Of course, you'll have some food because you can grow then. Because there's some vegetables you can grow during the summertime, and when it gets ripe, you can eat. You could also store. You could start canning. And remember, our grandparents did all that canning, stocking up for something because they were afraid something was going to happen. They were right. Because when information goes wild and the mass majority are distracted by the information that is coming into them, they get frightened. What they see on the news, what they see on the television, that whole mainstream media prospect thing, people freak out. In the United States, our national grid has evolved over the years. They had planned power outages because they're trying to upgrade the grid to put it online. So that way everything could come into one place and they could be like, okay, well, this place should have this part power. Now they know how much consumers, because they have smart meters on your house. Well, the best part about the electric grid going down is the fact that the smart meters will be useless. Fact. Internet will be useless. I won't be able to make videos like this no more. People won't be able to watch them. Now, the White House is monitoring our critical infrastructure over after two Department of Homeland Security warnings last month. And this article was published February 27th, 2022. Is this maybe because Trump lost and he's trying to find ways? Because they said domestic terrorist. Now, domestic terrorist isn't foreign terrorist. Domestic terrorist is anybody in the country that's trying to obviously attack because they lost an election and they can't see the truth because they lost that election. So they're going to be a terrorist. And of course, the majority of our court system, judicial system, lawyers, attorneys, police departments, they actually are domestic terrorists. If you actually look into it and you study and research, and I have friends who are police officers, I have friends who are lawyers, they went into their career with that, and I'm sure they're doing a great job. And that's great. It's understandable. It's excellent. We need more people like them. However, there's a large majority of these officials that are judicial, lawyers, public defenders, police officers, even politicians that want everything to do with the destruction of how we live. They don't want to see anybody have free thought. They don't want to see anybody communicating back and forth, because when people have the internet, they obviously communicate back and forth. When people can communicate, things can happen, things can roll out. So anyways, as I was reading, one noted Russia has proven its ability to use cyber attacks to shut down electric grids and compromise U.S. energy networks. Now, right there, it says compromise U.S. energy networks. I'm going to highlight this. Compromised U.S. energy networks. How is it compromised? If every state, every electric, national grid, National Grid is one of the biggest ones across the whole entire country. Now, I don't know how or why they would want to put our nation's grid on the internet. I think that's stupid. And frankly, most of that is pretty much all the same that we've had. They just upgrade a few things here and there, replace a few things, And boom, everybody can be monitoring our nation's grid because they can't seem to understand why the fuck they would do that. Why our nation's grid, the electricity in this country, has to be put on the grid. Ask yourself that. Do you understand? Does anybody else out there understand? So they've been looking at the grid for months, and we're surprised to learn how vulnerable it is and how often it's deliberately targeted. And one, like 9 years ago, that was pretty much a wake up for the industry and government. And that's why governments and electric power companies, national grid, local power companies have decided to jump on board to try to upgrade and update our nation's grid. I know that I think it's almost complete. I know they're working hard and they're trying to do their jobs and they're checking the lines and they're making sure. That's why we have great linemen do their jobs and they keep this country running. They keep the electric grid up and running and going. But eventually, even if we still continue to do our work to continue to protect our nation's grid, there are still the possibility of other threats, like an EMF. Everybody won't have power from a massive solar flare that hits this Earth. Now, planet Earth, right, is a ball, and it has an electrical field around the Earth. Multiple shields which protect us from the sun. And I believe partial of those solar flares actually come through. Most of them just come across, so we see a pretty northern lights, which is great. But there is that possibility to where a solar flare could knock everybody out. Even Russia is not immune from a solar flare. But anyways, if all of these things play in the hand, there's going to be chaos, there's going to be panic, people are going to be freaking out. And I'm going to hear right now, if something happens to our nation's grid, people, do not panic. They want you to panic so that way the government can declare martial law. Because when the people panic, they go for the stores. They go for like Walmart. They break into stores. They go for the masses amount of people are going to be like, I'm going to go for that television that I wanted 25 years ago or whatever. Or that television, that flat screen. I want that 75-inch flat screen that I wanted back in 2010. But then, obviously, televisions have upgraded, so when they go to the store, they're not going to see it. They're going to just see the new version. The question is, do we all want that to happen? I don't want that to happen. I don't want to see people going out to stores, destroying things, breaking windows, stealing things, all because the nation's grid is down. There will be no way to get your money. Your money will be gone. There'll be nothing. All because our nation's grid was attacked by a cyber attack. Whether it's from Russia or China, whether it's from individuals within our own nation, because we have those domestic terrorists, as the article says. But they put the blame on Russia. They just don't, no, we'll just call it domestic terrorists. Right? Exactly. So anyways, there's ways around this. If it happens, don't panic. You can have as much as you can in your home. Create a little bunker. Make sure it's locked. Make sure you got some canned food. Canned food is one of the best things you can have. It lasts the longest. Nothing you could do about meat. Everybody will be on plant-based. One of the big things that will probably affect our nation's grid attacked is animal agriculture. All these animals that are produced for food, they won't be produced for food anymore. I mean, I'm sure there'll be people out there trying to kill them. So I'm hungry. I'm a raging human. I'm a primitive man. I gotta have meat and potatoes, and that's how I live. And to hell with all the vegetables. As long as the animals can eat their grass and a little bit of grain, be grass fed. I don't need vegetables. I just want good meat. Meat is murder. People won't be watching Netflix anymore if the nation's grid goes down. Obviously, the internet will be off. There's a lot of things that's going to be off. Just to say here, and one of the benefits for the grid coming down is nobody will owe anything. Debt will be gone. You won't be harassed anymore with phone calls. We won't have ways to look people up, to search their information, to understand them. We're all going to have to look at a map, an actual folding up map. And I have one. I have a couple of them. I actually enjoy looking at and studying the map. I mean, Google Maps is okay if you don't want to carry that map around with you. You got your phone. Most of the point, when you use Google or Apple, it doesn't mean anything. It's not really accurate. It tells you to go this way when, shit, you've lived here in this area for how long? I'm going to go this way. I'm going to turn left. I'm not going through the street, through town. I'm not doing any of that. Simple as that. Truth, fact, honesty. Simple. But really, in the long run, do we really need Google Maps? I mean, I think the most part will be taking pictures or video of something that you just want to capture so that way you can see it in your mind or see that you've been there. You did this. I think communication will have to evolve differently. I'm sure if the national grid goes down, if our grid system goes down, we'll have 24/7 people working around the clock doing shifts, trying to get it back up and running, trying to make it more secure. And I'm sure they're doing that right now. And I commend them. I respect them for doing the job that pretty much will save this nation and will save everybody. People with diabetes won't be able to keep their insulin cold. Doctors will have to revert to paper medical records because all medical records these days are online. You know, when you go into your little portal and you check out, see what the doctor says, or you want to send a message, you're going to have to do that in person because there'll be no internet, there'll be no telephone. Doctors are going to have to actually do their jobs. It's probably going to be one of the most difficult jobs because now they have to put down their computers because it won't work. And they'll have to actually use their memory to remember things as they should have when they earned those medical degrees. People will still have education. Education is not going to go anywhere. It's just going to have to change because there'll be no electric and no ways to communicate across the world with other classrooms. We'll have to revert to, for a short period of time, we'll have to revert to old-fashioned communication. And I'm sure there'll be the Telegram. You won't have to check your email anymore. The nicest part about that is you won't have to worry about being traced because you could pretty much do anything. Now, when everything goes down, as they're presuming and watching and seeing it happen, like I said, people are going to freak out. Prisons are going to be shut down, and they're all going to be released. And the first thing that the prison population is going to do is not head for the cities. I mean, I'm sure maybe a few will. They're going to head for the countryside. They're going to head for the woods after being locked up for how many years? Even just a month being locked up. First thing you're going to do is go to the woods, go to the countryside, not the city. Despite of what people have said, well, you got to get out of the city. When they release all the prisons, they're going to come to the cities and take it over because they were pissed off for some reason. But really? Really? Does it have to happen that way? Probably not. But anyways, our nation's grid and anything that pretty much happens in the world, because a lot of it, 99.9% of everybody's grid is online. The internet has pretty much developed the world as we see it today. So, people, make your planning, get canned foods. Don't panic. Just go in, buy a little bit at a time each week. Buy what you need for the week or the month, but also buy what you can save. And plan, strategic planning. Make a garden. Get out and away from the cities. Now, like I said that the first thing the prison population is going to do is go to the country. Well, maybe you should take that and be like, well, if they're going to the country, maybe we should go out into the country and do the same thing to claim what we need, because everybody's going to be this primitive force defending, and most of the culture was based off of living in the country. The cities weren't really born to do anything. Cities are just like an entrapment area. You come in, look around, hot as hell because of the buildings absorbing the sun. So you get the sun coming down, you get the buildings, the heat, traffic, pollution. You want to get away from the cities. You just want to get away. And I'm sure there'll be people still staying in the cities, which is fine. You can do what you want. But you want to get out and you want to start a farm. You want to start growing land. And no more of this where people are going to say, well, this is my land. Stay away from it. And that's great. You're creating your own little community. But just remember, don't let your ego get ahead of you. Help the other person, because we're all in this game together. We're all going to have to work together. And in order for us to grow and evolve, it's not for the population to die off. We're going to have to help each other no matter what. If the nation's grid goes down, everything goes down. We're going to have to do what we can as human beings. We are an evolved species on planet Earth. While dolphins may be the smartest and pigs, humans are third in line, and they run the world. They also destroy the world with much of their climate change, global warming. The greatest thing about a nation's grid and everything goes down, or if an EMF hits or a solar flare hits, no more cars. Even if you have a gas powered vehicle, no more vehicle. Now, there's ways you can make that vehicle run. Take the engine out, make it like a propeller. Be like the Flintstones. But yeah, just think for a second and understand that there's pros and cons to having a loss of a nation's grid, loss of the internet, loss of phones. And I teach people a lot of things and how to remove themselves from data brokers. One of the pros, no more driver's licenses, no more identification cards. None. Whatever you have, like your birth certificate, keep that safe. Your social security number will be useless, but your birth certificate, that's yours. That is yours. That is solely yours. Don't lose it. Don't give it away. And don't burn it. Because there's going to be things that are important, like those documents. It's going to be worth quite a bit. And I'm not saying you could sell out your birth certificate and get a lot of money from it. I'm just saying that's yours. And you definitely don't want to get rid of it. Identification cards will be useless. You could just burn those. And I'm sure we'll find ways to revolve around this and better ourselves. But like I said, the best way to do it when all of this goes down is to help as much as you can. You see someone in distress, help them. Because there's going to be crime when it all goes down. There's going to be protests and riots in the cities. That's another thing why the prison population is not going to go to the cities, because they just dealt with all those riots in the jail and fights. They're going to the country, and so should you. And there's going to be people who don't listen to this and don't take this advice, but everything that I say in here, you can take however you want to take it. But just remember, your own thoughts, your own opinions should also be treated that way. Don't force your opinions on other people. Give advice. Help people out, people. Come on. We're human beings. Be more understanding. The nation's grid, there's nothing we can do about it. It's going to be under attack. You can't connect a VPN to the nation's grid and think that you're going to be protected, because there's other ways to get inside of that grid. And that is one of the most majority reasons why it's one of the majority reasons why our governments don't want us to communicate. But it's only based on truth and understanding. So whatever, right? Well, this was a long video. I do apologize, but I had to get some things off my chest, and I truly hope that everybody here watches this and understands this and prepares for themselves. I'm going to do some more research, and I'm going to add some links how you can prepare yourself for this big thing that they're planning for, they're monitoring, they're keeping an eye on. And I truly hope that you all can get through this and help each other and be human as much as you can. All these technologies and internet, computers, it's all going to go down. It's all going to be no more. And that's exactly what everybody is, or what the people that want this to happen. And it's sad. I don't want it to happen, and neither should you. But yeah, help. Get out there, get active, help people, show the world how we as humanity can grow together. Peace out, everybody.